The last resort. The rejection email from the art gallery stared back at Jasmine Parker from her cracked phone screen. 3 months of submissions, 3 months of hope, 3 months of disappointment. She swiped it away with a sigh and glanced at the hospital bill notification that immediately took its place. Her father's medication costs had doubled this month. "You can't keep waiting for your big break, sweetheart," her father had told her gently last week, oxygen tubes framing his tired smile. "Your photography is beautiful, but bills don't pay themselves with potential." Jasmine tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear and clicked on the job listing her friend had sent. Personal assistant to CEO, Blackwood Technologies. The salary made her eyes widen, more than triple what she made at the coffee shop. But the requirements made her heart sink. Experience in corporate environments, knowledge of business protocols, professional demeanor. She had none of these things. What she did have was desperation and a gift for adapting quickly. "It's just temporary," she whispered to herself, uploading her hastily revised resume. "Just until Dad's better and the gallery accepts my work." To her shock, they called her for an interview the next day. Blackwood Technologies occupied the top 10 floors of a gleaming skyscraper that made Jasmine feel small as she rode the elevator up. Clutching her portfolio folder, she'd brought it despite knowing it was irrelevant. The habit of an artist, carrying her soul in laminated pages. "Mr. Blackwood will see you now," announced the polished receptionist, eyeing Jasmine's thrift store blazer with subtle disapproval. Ethan Blackwood wasn't what she expected. Younger than the gray-haired tycoons in business magazines, he stood at the window of his minimalist office, shoulders tight beneath an impeccably tailored suit. When he turned, his expression wasn't cold so much as focused, calculating. His eyes, a startling shade of green, assessed her with unnerving precision. "You have no experience as an executive assistant," he stated, not bothering with pleasantries as he gestured for her to sit. "No," Jasmine admitted, deciding honesty was her only play. "But I learned quickly, I'm organized, and I understand the value of discretion." "Your resume says you're a photographer." "I am. Or trying to be." Something in his expression shifted. "Then why apply for this position?" "Because art doesn't pay hospital bills," she replied simply. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Ethan did something unexpected. He nodded just once, as if her answer had satisfied some unspoken question. "My last 3 assistants had business degrees from Ivy League schools," he said, moving to his desk. "All of them quit within 2 months. They knew how to manage schedules but not people, and my world requires managing both." Jasmine clutched her folder tighter. "I've spent years capturing human emotion through a lens, Mr. Blackwood. I notice details others miss." He paused, his attention drawn to the folder. "What's that?" "My portfolio. Force of habit. I bring it everywhere. Show me." Surprised, she opened it, displaying photographs of strangers caught in unguarded moments. A weathered fisherman laughing, 2 elderly women whispering secrets, a child's wonder at first snowfall. Ethan studied each image carefully. "You see people," he murmured, almost to himself. "Yes," she said. "I do." He closed the portfolio and handed it back. "The job is demanding." "I'm demanding. The hours are long, the pressure constant. You'll have access to sensitive information and be expected to handle situations I don't have time for." Jasmine thought of her father's medical bills and straightened her shoulders. "I understand." "You start tomorrow," he said, returning to his desk. "My current assistant will brief you. Don't be late." As Jasmine stood to leave, their eyes met briefly, and she caught something unexpected in his gaze, not coldness, but curiosity. "Thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Blackwood." "Ethan," he corrected, already turning to his computer. "And Miss Parker? Bring your camera tomorrow. This office could use someone who actually sees people." Behind the glass walls, 3 weeks into her new position, Jasmine was still adjusting to the whirlwind that was Ethan Blackwood's life. Her days blurred into a constant stream of scheduling calls, coordinating meetings, and trying to anticipate his needs before he voiced them. Despite the chaos, she found herself fascinated by the enigma of her employer. "He never eats," Clara, the office manager, confided during Jasmine's second week. Sometimes he works until dawn, forgets there's a world outside those algorithms, Jasmine noticed. She saw how his office light remained on long after the building emptied, how he subsisted on black coffee and occasional protein bars. One evening, returning to grab her forgotten phone, she found him staring at financial projections, shoulders hunched with exhaustion. "When was the last time you ate something that wasn't delivered in a paper bag, Mr. Blackwood?" she asked, leaning against his doorframe. Ethan looked up, momentarily disoriented. "Ethan," he corrected automatically. "And I don't remember." The next evening, Jasmine placed a container on his desk. "My grandmother's recipe," she explained when he raised an eyebrow. "Real food for real humans." His lips twitched, almost a smile. "Are you implying I'm not human, Ms. Parker?" "Jasmine," she corrected with his same intonation, and the jury's still out. That small exchange shifted something between them. Ethan began asking her opinion on matters beyond scheduling, what she thought about product color schemes, whether marketing materials felt authentic. Her artistic eye brought perspectives his data-driven approach missed. The real test came during the annual Tech Innovation Gala. Minutes before they were due to leave, Jasmine found Ethan in his office, staring out the window. "These events," he said without turning, "are exercises in insincerity." Jasmine approached cautiously. "You don't enjoy networking?" "I don't enjoy pretending." His reflection in the glass looked younger, vulnerable. "Everyone wants something from Ethan Blackwood, CEO. No one cares about Ethan." The simple admission struck her. This billionaire, with all his power, was profoundly alone. "Then don't be the CEO tonight," she suggested. "Just be Ethan." He turned, puzzled. "When I photograph people," she explained, "I look for genuine moments. The real person behind social masks. Tonight, when someone asks about market projections, ask them about their passions instead. You might be surprised." At the gala, Jasmine watched from a distance as Ethan navigated the crowd. Following her advice, he asked the mayor about his hobby of restoring vintage cars, listened as a potential investor described her daughter's science fair project. People responded to his genuine interest, relaxing into authentic conversation. Later, as they prepared to leave, Jasmine overheard a tech journalist comment. "Blackwood seems different tonight, more human." In the car afterward, Ethan was quiet, looking out at the city lights. "That was educational," he finally said. "Successful?" "Different." He met her eyes. "Thank you." A crisis erupted the following week. A major security flaw was discovered in their flagship product hours before launch. The development team panicked, executives pointed fingers, and Ethan sequestered himself with the engineers. Jasmine, monitoring the situation, noticed a pattern in the customer feedback data no one had flagged. When she hesitantly brought it to Ethan's attention, he immediately grasped its significance. "This could save us millions," he murmured, studying her analysis. "How did you see this?" "The same way I compose photographs, looking for patterns others miss." For the next 72 hours, they worked side by side, Jasmine coordinating crisis response while Ethan led the technical fix. When success finally came, exhaustion gave way to elation. The team celebrated, but Ethan sought Jasmine out. "I've never had someone who could anticipate what I needed before I knew myself," he said quietly. "You're unexpected." Something flickered between them, an awareness neither was ready to acknowledge. Jasmine looked away first, suddenly conscious of how close they stood. "That's my job," she replied lightly. "No," Ethan said, his voice dropping lower. "It's who you are." Crossed Boundaries 1, rainy Tuesday, Jasmine arrived to find Ethan already in a meeting. On her desk sat a small, rectangular envelope, an invitation to a photography exhibition at Archer Gallery, one of the city's most prestigious venues. Her heart sank. Another event she'd need to decline due to work commitments. Then she noticed the featured artist's name, Jasmine Parker. She burst into Ethan's office the moment his meeting ended. "What is this?" she demanded, waving the invitation. Ethan looked up calmly. "I believe it's called an opportunity. You submitted my work without telling me?" I showed your portfolio to Leonard Archer when we discussed his company's visual rebrand. He was impressed. Ethan seemed genuinely confused by her reaction. Isn't this what you wanted? What I want isn't the point, Jasmine said, struggling to contain her emotions. You had no right to make that decision for me. I merely opened a door I should have knocked on myself. Her voice rose. My photography isn't some corporate asset you can leverage. It's my life. For the first time since she'd known him, Ethan appeared completely at a loss. I thought you'd be pleased. That's the problem. You thought, but you didn't ask. Jasmine turned to leave, then paused. Not everything can be decided unilaterally, Ethan, even with good intentions. The following days brought uncomfortable silence. Jasmine maintained professional courtesy, but the easy rapport they'd developed vanished. Despite her anger, she couldn't ignore the opportunity. The exhibition would provide exposure she'd never achieve on her own, potentially allowing her to quit and focus on photography full-time, exactly what she'd wanted before Ethan Blackwood entered her life. Before she could fully process these conflicting emotions, Victoria Reed entered the picture. As CEO of rival company Nexus Technologies, Victoria had been trying to arrange a meeting with Ethan for months. When she finally succeeded, her calculating gaze immediately assessed the tension between Ethan and his assistant. How fascinating, Victoria commented after Jasmine left coffee for their meeting. I expected another interchangeable yes woman, not someone who clearly keeps you on your toes, Ethan. Ethan's expression hardened. Miss Parker is exceptionally talented. I'm sure she is, Victoria replied with a knowing smile. The question is, in which capacity do you value her more? The implication hung in the air, and Jasmine, overhearing as she closed the door, felt her cheeks burn. Was that how others saw her role? A cliché office romance in the making? That evening, she stayed late organizing files when Ethan approached her desk. I owe you an apology, he said stiffly. I overstepped? Jasmine nodded, still sorting papers. Yes, you did. I'm not accustomed to considering personal boundaries. In my world, efficiency trumps sentiment. She finally looked up. Is that what you think this is? Sentiment? I think, he said carefully, that I failed to recognize the difference between helping and controlling. The honesty in his admission disarmed her. The exhibition opens next Friday. I know. I'm going to do it, she continued. Not because you arranged it, but because it's an opportunity I'd be foolish to refuse. Relief flickered across his face. Will you allow me to attend? As my boss or as my friend? Ethan hesitated. Is friendship still possible? Before she could answer, her phone rang, the hospital. Her father had taken a turn for the worse. The color drained from her face as she listened. Ethan watched her expression crumble. Without a word, he took the phone, spoke briefly with the doctor, then guided her to the elevator. My driver will take you. Go. Family comes first. As the elevator doors closed between them, Jasmine realized something had fundamentally shifted. The boundary she'd tried to maintain had already been crossed, not by Ethan's mistake with the gallery, but by how deeply she'd begun to care. Weathering the storm, Jasmine spent 3 days at her father's bedside while doctors adjusted his medication. During those endless hours, she was surprised to find hospital bills mysteriously processed by insurance and premium care authorized without question. Though she suspected Ethan's involvement, she had no energy to protest this particular boundary crossing. On the 4th morning, she returned to her apartment to shower and change clothes. A thick manila envelope waited at her door, printouts of emails between Victoria Reed and a tabloid journalist, discussing plans to plant a story suggesting Jasmine had exchanged favors for career advancement. The final email included photos of her entering Ethan's building late at night during the product crisis. Her hands shaking with anger, Jasmine drove straight to Ethan's penthouse. His surprise at seeing her disheveled state quickly turned to cold fury as she showed him the documents. Where did you get these? He asked, voice dangerously quiet. They were delivered to my apartment, she replied. Someone wants me to know I'm being targeted. Ethan's jaw tightened. Victoria. This is how she operates, finds leverage, applies pressure, waits for the competition to crumble from within. I'm leverage? His eyes met hers. You're far more than that, which is precisely why she's targeting you. Together, they traced the source of the leak to Victoria's head of security, who'd hired a private investigator to follow Jasmine. More disturbing were the discovered attempts to access her father's medical records. She's thorough, Ethan remarked grimly. This isn't just business for her. It's personal. What does she want? Our new quantum encryption technology. Her company is 6 months behind ours, and the government contracts are being decided next quarter. As they strategized counter-moves, Jasmine's phone rang, her father again, this time asking when she'd return. The stress of the situation crashed over her, and to her horror, tears spilled down her cheeks. I can't do this, she whispered. My father needs me. This scandal could ruin my reputation before my career even starts, and I... Jasmine... Ethan's voice was gentle as he moved closer. Breathe. To her surprise, he took her hands in his. When I was 17, my parents died in a car accident. No family, no support system. I built walls around myself, created a world I could control through algorithms and assets. He paused, vulnerability raw in his expression. Then you walked into my office with photographs that saw through people's masks, and for the first time in years, I wondered what it would be like to be seen, not for what I've built, but for who I am. The confession hung between them, changing everything. Jasmine realized that despite their different worlds, they shared the same fear of being valued only for what they could provide. Never for themselves. We'll handle Victoria, Ethan continued, voice strengthening, and your father will receive the best care available. You don't have to face either challenge alone. Later that evening, as they sat in the hospital room watching her father sleep, Jasmine finally asked the question that had been troubling her. Why did you really arrange that exhibition? Ethan considered his answer carefully. Because your talent deserves recognition. But also, he admitted, because I selfishly hoped if you achieved your dream you might choose to stay. Stay as your assistant? His eyes held hers. Stay in my life, in whatever capacity you wished. The raw honesty between them felt more intimate than any physical touch. Before either could speak further, Jasmine's father stirred, smiling weakly at the sight of them. You must be the boss my daughter never stops talking about, he said to Ethan. Dad! Jasmine protested, embarrassed. Ethan smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his face. I hope some of what she says is favorable. Enough to make me curious. About your intentions, her father replied with surprising directness. As Ethan respectfully engaged with her, father's protective questioning, Jasmine watched the interaction with growing certainty. The boundaries between their worlds had not just been crossed, they had begun to dissolve entirely. Redefining success. The gallery opening arrived amid swirling rumors and Victoria Reed's increasingly desperate attempts to discredit both Jasmine and Ethan. Rather than hiding, they decided to face the situation head-on. Together. Jasmine stood nervously in the gallery's back room, adjusting her simple black dress. Her photographs, stark, honest portrayals of human emotion, lined the walls of the main exhibition space. Through the doorway, she could see the gathering crowd, including several major critics. Second thoughts? Ethan asked, appearing beside her in an understated suit. About the exhibition? No. She met his gaze. About everything else? Constantly, he smiled slightly. That makes two of us. Before she could respond, Leonard Archer approached. Our star photographer needs to make her entrance, he announced. The Times critic just arrived. Taking a deep breath, Jasmine stepped into the gallery. For 2 hours, she navigated questions about her technique, inspiration, and vision. Critics praised her unflinching humanity, while collectors inquired about pricing. Through it all, she was acutely aware of Ethan maintaining a respectful distance, present but not inserting himself, allowing her moment to unfold on its own terms. The true test came when Victoria Reed swept in, fashionably late and dripping with false charm. What a quaint little exhibition, she remarked loudly. How fortunate for an unknown photographer to have such powerful patronage. Conversations hushed as attention shifted to the confrontation. Victoria continued, voice honeyed with malice. I've always admired Ethan's philanthropic instincts. Supporting struggling artists is so noble, especially when they offer such personal dedication in return. Before Jasmine could respond, her father appeared at her side, leaning on a cane but standing tall. "My daughter has never struggled with talent," he stated clearly. "Only with opportunity, something all artists face, regardless of their connections." Victoria faltered, clearly not expecting the dignified older man's intervention. Ethan stepped forward then, his expression calm but eyes flashing warning. "Ms. Reed," he said evenly, "your insinuations reflect poorly on your character, not Ms. Parker's. Perhaps you should view her work before passing judgment on how it came to be here." He gestured toward a particular photograph, one Jasmine had taken of him unawares during a rare moment of relaxation. In it, Ethan gazed out his office window, the armor of CEO temporarily set aside, revealing the thoughtful, vulnerable man beneath. Victoria studied it, then Jasmine, reassessing. Whatever she saw made her smile tighten. Without another word, she turned and left. Later, as the successful evening wound down, Jasmine found Ethan on the gallery's small balcony, looking out at the city lights. "3 photographs sold," she told him, joining him at the railing. "One to the museum's modern collection." "You've achieved what you wanted," he observed. "Financial independence. Recognition. Not everything I wanted." She turned to face him fully. "These past months have changed my definition of success." "How so?" "I used to think it meant never needing anyone. Being completely self-sufficient," she smiled softly. "Now I understand there's strength in choosing connection, even when you could stand alone." Ethan's expression grew serious. "I built an empire on the belief that emotions were inefficient, relationships unpredictable variables in life's equation. Then you arrived with your inconvenient perceptiveness, insisting I see people, not just problems to solve." He took her hand, his touch tentative. "If you'll stay, not as my assistant, that position no longer fits what you are to me. I'd like to offer a partnership instead." "What kind of partnership?" she asked carefully. "One where your photography has equal priority to my technology, where we build something together that honors both our talents." His voice softened. "One where I can finally stop watching you from a distance and tell you how completely you've changed my world." Jasmine looked at their joined hands, then up to his hopeful expression. "I never planned on falling for my boss. And I never planned on meeting someone brave enough to remind me I'm human." He smiled. "Poor planning on both our parts." As the gallery emptied and the city quieted around them, Jasmine made her choice, not from desperation this time, but from the certainty that some boundaries were meant to be crossed, some worlds meant to merge, and some stories meant to continue beyond their unexpected beginnings. "Partners," she agreed, stepping closer. "In every sense of the word.